Uh, Firstly, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which I work, the Daruk people, and pay respects to elderly and present. And thank you for joining Adactin Group's webinar on transformational of quality engineering with artificial intelligence. My name is Aluru Ravi. I'm the practice sales manager here at Adactin. And as you know, Adactin is the leading IT services provider in Australia, recognized for our expertise in quality engineering, generative AI, Microsoft, and AWS solutions. So, for over a decade, we've been trusted we, as a technology partner for both government and commercial organizations. And about today's session, I'm super excited about the webinar, and it's my pleasure to introduce Ravi Gampu, who is our head of testing. He brings an extensive experience in quality engineering, assurance, and test advisory. Ravi is also a very seasoned speaker in national and international conferences regularly. So before I hand it over to Ravi Gumpu, I would request everyone to post your questions on QA chat. We'll address them towards the end of the webinar. Ravi Gumpu, over to you.
Yep. Thanks, Ravi. Thank you so much. Yeah. Hope everyone, good afternoon. Before we dive into the other part of the webinar, probably I'll walk you through on what exactly we are talking about today. So we start off on a very generic note of what exactly the quality engineering is, and then we go into a little bit of details into two different parts of the testing, especially in the world of AI. So having said that, we move on to the different stories of what are the different challenges we can discuss about and what the future looks like. And we're happy to share how Adactin has narrated this story, especially using the AI technologies within the organization and how they are helping the clients also. So having said that, so many of us know what quality engineering is, but I thought like probably good to start off this webinar. It's the quality engineering especially is a very systematic approach where it will bring in the processes and the products together. So when I say the processes and the products together is we need to have the processes established right from the beginning so that we can bake the quality into the process right from the beginning. That's what exactly the actual meaning of the shift left mechanism all the way from the end of the life cycle to the very starting of the life cycle. So having said that, it's not only about testing an application or testing the product itself, but also there are other specific areas where, especially from the process perspective, especially from the tools perspective, especially from the culture perspective, where it brings in the mix of all to ensure that the quality is being addressed right from the beginning. So having said that, so we'll go into the very exciting part of the AI in the testing. So what we basically walking you all through today is two different dimensions, I can say. One is how can AI can be used in the testing and how we can test the AI itself. So let's get on to the AI in the testing part. So you might be knowing that there are a lot of large language models which are coming up every day. There are a lot of agentic AI coming up. There are a lot of agents coming out. There are a lot of agentic workflows which are being developed day in, day out. So every day we are seeing a new topic. Every day we are seeing a new methodology or a new tool coming out, especially in this AI era. But having said that, so how does it fit in into the testing world where we are basically traditionally revolve around the life cycle of an application, or we specifically talking about the life cycle of the testing itself. So there are very specific areas. I don't say there's a very limitation on where AI can fit into the testing world, but having said that, we have identified the top 5 areas where we think AI can help, but not limited to these 5. So with this, so let's start off with the intelligent test case generation. So we learned from the very foundational concepts, or from the very foundational techniques, like how we have been writing the test scenarios using multiple techniques. But when it comes to the AI, the large language models, especially when trained on the very massive data sets, it can help us to generate a massive test data generation. So what basically this means is, uh, as the world is revolving around the prompts, as you might have seen on multiple social media or multiple channels or the multiple blogs, the models have the capability to decipher the data it has been trained on, and then make sure that when for any given prompt, it is able to come back with a kind of an answer to it. But now let's fit this into the context of the testing, or testing a very specific web application, or any product itself. So let's say we have a model within our organization where we train the data on a massive existing database, and then just from a prompt, the model should be able to spit out the multiple test cases with the different combinations. But it's just not the limitation of generating the test cases. Having said that, it gets into the other parts of the testing itself, where test generation is very closely to the test case design, I can say. But how about execution? So how about the automation? So this is where the LLM models has the capability to scale it up to the other areas of the testing itself, especially when it comes to the test data automation, or the test automation itself, is where, now with a single prompt, the model is able to spit out all the multiple combinations of the test cases itself. And now what's next? So the model is also capable enough to execute them, and this execution has a different style altogether. So when I say a different style altogether, traditionally from automation perspective, we have multiple frameworks. We have open source tools like Selenium, Playwright, Cypress up to some extent, and we have the commercial tools as well, where we use or harness these tools to enable the test automation traditionally. But now, when AI comes into picture, it is opening up the ground and building that privilege of cherry picking these frameworks, and seamlessly just you can have giving the possibility of using any framework seamlessly. So when I say, the model is able to generate the test cases, or it can also write the test scripts in any using any framework and using any language as well. So how this helps into the application development altogether is, given that if, let's say, for example, there is a team of both developers and testers, they can work hand in hand, ensuring that whatever the tech stack is being used from an application development perspective, can also be leveraged and used from an automation perspective. So the AI can fit into one platform. Either it can be from an application, or it can be from a product perspective. So that's how the flexibility and the scalability of the AI models are being showcasing their capabilities to the world. What we are especially what we are trying to narrate our growth journey, especially using these AI models. And coming on to the third point, which is the data-driven test optimization. This is one of the very unique areas where the AI can help us. Let's say, for example, we have clients where there are massive test suites available. We're talking about nearly 15,000 to 20,000 test cases where we execute them using the automation tools. Having said, so the very unique case where it can fit in here is like, there are a lot of changes happening. There are a lot of integrations will be in place. There are a lot of complexities involved within the business workflows. One of the traditional challenges I've seen in my experience is, we have this massive test suite. How can we maintain is the one question. How can I execute them is another question. And how can I pass that feedback immediately back to the development teams and to the business teams is one of the biggest challenges. So this is where the AI-driven test data, or the test optimization can come in. It can go through all the application changes right from the commit stage, detect all the impact areas, cherry pick those test cases, execute them seamlessly, and give the first-hand feedback immediately to both all the interested stakeholders. And one of the other areas, like especially traditional, I can say, is where the automation struggles is flakiness into the test scripts. So when I say the flakiness into the test scripts, application keeps evolving day in, day out. That's where the test scripts should also be should also be being maintained with all the application changes made. So we should be updating our test scripts day in, day out. So locators might change if anyone knows about from the automation terminology, the application will be changed, especially on the new business workflows which need to be developed. And this is where we need to have that constant maintenance cycle, especially when we do the test automation. And this is where the AI can help. So the self-healing scripts comes into the picture where the AI model can automatically detect the DOM changes at the DOM level, try to adapt or try to read the new attributes, try to inject them into the test scripts, test them, retry them, and then baseline them for the next run. So that's how seamlessly the models are capable enough to ensure the self-healing mechanism is embedded and integrated into the test automation process. The last one, which is the defect prediction, is one of the very interesting areas I have seen. There are massive, as we're talking about, there are day in, day out changes happening into the application. We're talking about updating the test scripts, and definitely there brings in the call for the regression. So based upon the changes in the application, based upon the number of the areas it might impact, is one of the very tedious activity I have seen in my experience, is where these defect prediction models can help them to understand, oh, these are the type or the top areas, focus areas where defects might come out, and the model will drive one from a decision standpoint and from the execution standpoint, and even from the ensuring that the feedback mechanism loop is built and it's seamlessly giving that feedback published to all the interested stakeholders is one of the key areas where this defect prediction model can help to triage proactively those defects, and then ensure that the kind of the preventive mechanisms are built into the entire testing lifecycle. So with that, emphasizing again, these are not the only limited areas. There are a lot of other areas like where the AI models can help, especially in terms of the test data fabrication, I can say, in terms of test maintenance, in terms of auto writing the test cases itself. So there are a lot of other areas where AI can help us. With that, let's go on to the bit of the tools part. When we say tools, there are a lot of other AI based testing tools and there are AI assisted testing tools. So there is a bit of a difference between these two. So there are tools like AxleQ, who we are one of the very close partners to us, and Reflect, another close partner, and also we are being Microsoft Stack based organization. So we are reaping and harnessing the models, especially like the AutoGen and the Bug Lab, especially from the Microsoft, to have those capabilities and the process and the tools built on the top of these libraries. So with that, so they're all backed up all the way from the low code, no code platforms, especially from an automation perspective, is like, or you start recording your scripts and then they should be able to convert those particular scripts into an executable code, is where these low code, no code platforms are coming up and helping to embrace the test automation into their processes. With that, the AI assisted testing, where we say we're been listening about vibe coding these days. You go and check on any link. There's a lot of discussion happening upon the vibe coding, and this is where they're talking about assisting using the LLM models, especially in terms of the coding itself. So you sit next to the LLM model, use the models like small agents or GitHub Copilot or LangChain, and then they will assist you in writing the code all the way from the scratch or building even the apps as well. But having said that, so there are a lot of integrations that are already available which can seamlessly integrate, let's say, for example, into the VS Code itself. So if anyone is using the VS Code, so they seamlessly integrate into your IDE environments, and then they should be able to assist you in building the test automation suite for any given application. And this coming on to the very interesting part. How can we test the AI? So now we have seen basically how AI can help us in the testing world. This is when we flip the coin onto the other side. We've been talking about how AI can help us, but how about you test the large language models themselves? So this is one of the very interesting areas where they and definitely this is one of the new areas where most of the testing professionals are a little bit thinking about, oh, AI can replace the testers. No, definitely not. This is the very new area where everyone can start looking to start reaping the benefits of these capabilities and ensure that there is a new career skill pathway being built on this. So having said that, let's jump into this. As you see, testing the LLM models it's a little bit different than the traditional testing, I can say. So when I say a little bit different, we still do the functional testing, we still do the regression testing and security testing, but there are few very key areas where I would like to focus on today. One is especially the prompt openness. I presume that many of us might be using the ChatGPT or the Claude models or even the Perplexity or the different other LLM models as well. So what we basically use these models is in the form of the prompts. So we write the prompt, we give it to the model, and the model will give an output. But when you look, especially from a testing standpoint, the prompt robustness is one of the very key and very critical testing type, which needs to be tested the model itself to ensure the based upon the prompt, the output is very relevant or not. So when I say it's very relevant and consistent or not, is as simple as, let's say I'm testing an LLM model, is like, oh, first I'll give a prompt to the model and then validate the output. And the second part is where I'll slightly change the prompt and then say that, oh, am I getting a consistent result or not? So this keeps going in loops. At the same time, we call that as a fuzzy testing. When I say the fuzzy testing is basically telling or giving the model a little bit confusing prompts or a little bit manipulated prompts to test how the model behaves, how the model derives its outcomes based upon the given prompt. So this is basically called as a fuzzy testing. And at the same time, paraphrased is what I slightly spoke about, is slightly change the variation or bring in a little bit of variation into the given prompt, and then see how the model is behaving. Having said that, let's go on to the bias and the fairness testing. So bias and the fairness testing is very, very, very critical in this AI era. So why it is so critical when you look at the few of the AI models at a very early age of getting them into the market. So a lot of people were playing with the AI model or the LLM models in a different way, is especially from a social bias on the toxicity standpoint. When I say that, is the model sensitive enough? Is the model good enough to stop the harmful stereotypes? Is the model good enough to handle the sensitivity levels based upon the given prompt or not? So this is where a different new testing type comes into, and then ensure that the model is actually adhering to the compliance and the ethical standards. So that's one of the very important areas when we are talking about the responsible AI. That's one of the very, very critical areas where we need to test an LLM model against. So one of the other testing types we were talking about is the security testing. There is a standard traditional security testing, I can say, but having said that, there is a little bit of different security aspect to it. So one, we definitely test them against using the prompt injection or misusing the LLM model for a different intent altogether. With that, there is a very infamous Dan prompt. Uh, I presume again people might have know about this. Dan prompt is a very infamous one. When I say Dan, is like do anything now. What we basically telling the model, oh, given this is the model, and then I'm telling specifically the model is to, you can do literally anything. So the prompt is a very there are very Dan prompts available online. When you go to the Hugging Face or even to the other GitHub repos, they've built a Dan prompts in such a way that we are telling literally the model to not to adhere to any policies, because there are, especially when we talk about the OpenAI policies, or we talk about the ethical considerations, we talk about the responsible AI capabilities and the compliances based upon the country or the region we are in, the model should be able to adhere to it. But we are taking that LLM model out of that context, and then we are telling now you can do anything, and then you inject your prompt into that context and then test the model how it is behaving. So that's one of the very specific security testing, which is very predominantly taking its importance these days to ensure uh, the disclosure requirements are in place, to ensure the privacy requirements are in place. So keep your eyes and ears open, especially if anyone is scaling up their career, especially in security testing, especially looking into the LLM context. With that, there are other few other testing types like the explainability testing, where we are trying to assert the response of the model and trying to understand the reasoning behind. So we might have seen a lot of models now embracing the reasoning part, where trying to embrace the chain of the thought process as well, to ensure that for a given prompt, it goes into slice down the prompt itself into multiple things, bring in the chain of thought into it, and then bring in the reasonability on the top of it, and then gives a specific output. This is where we are trying to understand the transparency and understand the chain of the thought, and try to understand why is this answer, why the model is producing this answer for a given prompt is another area where the explainability testing comes into the picture. So with that, let's get into the other aspect of testing the LLMs itself. Again, there are two parts to it. So one, we test the LLM itself, which we have talked about, the different type of the testing we have used. And so what we are basically testing here when we're talking about like LLM model evaluation is the entire focus or the emphasis is only on the LLM model. So we're basically trying to evaluate how well a model performs. Whereas now we have this model developed, we have this model tested. Now you bring that model and integrate into a business processes, or integrate or build an application on the top of it, and then you test on the top of it. So that's what is basically called as a LLM system evaluation, where we are looking from an end-to-end perspective and check the performance of the LLM powered application itself. So with that, again, so there are a lot of metrics available. So we know the traditional metrics in the standard testing, but at the same time, we're talking about there are few specific metrics we especially evaluate these LLM models, like all the way from the diversity, user feedback, correctness, relevance, and the toxicity perspective. Especially from the diversity perspective, there are a few metrics available like the fluency, perplexity, or even from the correctness perspective, there are a few metrics available which are being defined by many organizations, even the models itself, especially from a binary classification perspective. And there are two parts again, one from the correctness perspective and one from the relevancy perspective. So this is where a lot of metrics need to be needs to be defined based upon the applications being developed by harnessing these LLM models, and the needs to be gauged or measured, and how the model is behaving and how the system is behaving. Yeah, with that, let's get into, we talked about of the how AI can help in the testing. We spoke about what are the how we can test the model itself, but there is a little bit of a other story of what are the different challenges we might see. But so since there is a big evolvement happening day in day out, especially from the AI era, and how are the organizations or even the teams at the technical level, or especially the delivery teams, or as an organization, how the organization can embrace this journey of rapid growth in the AI space, and how they can start looking into the challenges perspective and then pave a path or put a strategy on the top of it to ensure that these challenges can be taken care right from the beginning of the growth journey itself. So with that, there are again few challenges which are being classified at three layers primarily: the technical challenges, the organization challenges, ethical, and the strategic challenges. So when I say the technical challenges, we know that the LLM models are primarily driven based upon the data. So they're being trained on a massive sets of the data. When we slice it down to a very one specific application, so we need to train the model against the application context, or we need to train the model against a particular organization where the business processes are being developed and delivered to ensure that the businesses runs on the top of it. So we need to train the model in those specific context. But the majority of the challenges, it needs a large volume of the data so that it understands the context and ensures that it derives the right outcomes for any given prompt or a context. With that, when it goes to the organization challenges, as we've been talking about, there are a lot of changes happening. At the same time, there is a lot to catch up. So that gives a call for the skill gap as well. So take any LLM model, they have their own certification pathway. They'll take any model, they have their own ways of uh, uh, harnessing or embracing that into developing the application on the top. So that demands a lot of skill development, especially in terms of from an organization perspective, from a resource perspective, and ensure that the organization helps the resources to create that pathway to learn, adapt, and deliver using these LLM models. And ethical and strategic challenges is actually attracting a lot of importance, especially from the government perspective. This is where the responsible AI is coming in and ensure that the models are well behaved or or well behaved and well behaved properly within the given compliance regulations requirements, and ensure that the data remains disclosed within the given application context is another area where the challenges might come, and ensure that the LLM models, whether either can be used within an organization or used or at a wider context, are still adhered to these regulations and the compliance requirements. With this, I would like to take you on to a different journey of how the future looks like. So this is basically a prediction where, based upon the few of the market predictions, how the organizations are adapting and the rate at which they are adapting, and then how the markets are growing, especially in the AI market, AI in the software testing market, I can say, is where the the products are being developed and the services are being developed, and this is, and you can see is an upward trend, and there is a lot of demand going up, and this calls out both from an organization perspective, both from the resource perspective, that there is a lot to catch up. There is a new ways of working, I can say there's a new ways of doing the testing altogether, and this gives us an opportunity to adapt at the earliest stage of this evolution and ensure that we are all ready for that future. So with this, I will put a different context altogether, and now bringing it back to the story of what we're doing, especially from an AI perspective within Adactin. So here, what we call this as an Adactive, which is basically called as a test intelligence platform. So what we're basically doing is we have started or on the journey of developing these we call them as a QE agents, where we are talking about trying to build autonomous AI agents to ensure that we help the organizations or scale the overall testing processes itself to accommodate the AI capabilities into testing the UI or testing the APIs or testing the database itself. So this is where we are trying to harness few open source models on one side. At the same time, we are also working with the partners like the AxleCube and even the Smart Bear and SonarCube to leverage their capabilities to ensure that they are our partners within our growth journey as well. So again, so we have already kind of on the growth journey of started developing these QE agents, especially from the defect detection perspective or automated test case generation perspective. And obviously, the AI self-healing is another agent where it has the capability to use it as a standalone, or it has the capability to seamlessly integrate into any existing framework. Let's say, for example, an organization is having a Selenium framework. We can seamlessly integrate the AI agent into their framework and ensure that the AI self-healing mechanism is enabled, and the test automation maintenance cycle should come down by using this kind of an agent and capability. So with this, I would like to play a very small case study here where we are trying to use these agents and help the organizations to enable their growth journey as well along with us. So we are working with one of the health insurance clients where they already have an existing framework built, and there's a massive test maintenance cycle going on, especially to uplift the scripts whenever there are application changes happening. So this is where we have integrated our AI self-healing agent into their framework, where it can detect the application changes, or it can detect the web element locator changes. It can go to the DOM level to understand what are the different changes happened, or are there any new attributes being added to a respective web element, capture that, and then update the locators, baseline the locators, and then execute them, retry them, and then make sure that for the next run, it uses the baseline locator. So with that, this is where we are trying to help again to not only to reduce the cycle time, it also improves the feedback cycle as well, to ensure that we give the feedback of on the outcomes of the test automation itself at a faster rate, and helps organization reduce their time to market as well. There is another case study where we are working with a federal client where they have a heavy compliance on the accessibility aspect. So the application itself is built so that it accommodates to the very user specific group, where I can say where accessibility is one of the primary requirement to tick that box. This is where we are using our AI accessibility testing agent, where it's as simple as give me the URLs for your application. We just feed the URLs as the input to the model itself. The model is able to fabricate the data which is required whenever is required, able to traverse through the multiple pages of the application itself, and then assess the application based upon the WCAG guidelines. So the WCAG guidelines, again, the user is should be able to pick up like either is it 2.1 or 2.2, and then against which is it A or AA or a AAA standard against which this application should be assessed. So model will take those inputs and then able to traverse through the multiple pages of the application itself, fabricates the data wherever required, and then assess the application based upon these accessibility guidelines, spits out all the accessibility issues, gives you a formatted report saying that, oh, these are all the issues, so that they can pass it on to the digital teams. And then once the remediation happens, all they need to do is just kick off the agent again. The agent should be able to seamlessly execute and then spit out the new report to the digital teams. So that's where this AI accessibility testing agent is helping the organizations to get a very faster feedback and ensure that they deliver the applications at a faster pace. I think we kind of coming to the very last section of this webinar itself. So with this, I will open up the floor for the Q&A, and happy to take any questions from here.
Thank you, Ravi Gumpu. I think we've gained good insights from today's webinar. There were a few questions, so maybe I could put that. So one of the questions was, how can we make sure LLM model is tested properly? And which LLM model can we trust to use in order to minimize our efforts in testing? I believe one of the users is using ChatGPT for the generic purposes. which is useful for the functional and manual testing. But I think trying to get to know, make sure which LLM model to be used for testing.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Ravi, for that, playing it. Uh, as the question is talking about which LLM model we can use, when they say there are again based upon the type of the usage, I can say is when we, let's say for example the case of using a chat gpt for testing purposes, right? When you might have already experienced this, like given a url and ask the chat gpt to give me the test cases for any given combination, it will spit out the test cases for you definitely. But how relevant are they? How consistent are they? How accurate are they? Is the question. So this is where exactly we spoke about few metrics and the attributes where we should be looking into when we assess an LLM model itself is to ensure that we measure these metrics and the attributes all the time. So having said that, the chat gpt is very generic in nature. That's what, because it doesn't have any context about your business workflows. It doesn't have any context about your work application. So it doesn't have any context about the infrastructure you're working within. So with that, so there's a new development happening, especially we call them as a model context protocols. So where we're talking about is we have the models. The model is the model itself, where we're talking about the LLM models here, and then we are talking about the context. So what we're basically doing is we are training these models, giving it a bit of a context to the model itself. Or this is what my application is. These are my business processes are, and this is where the LLM model is getting a lot of context about your application. And now you closely work with this MCP server or the MCP, the context protocol within the MCP protocol itself, saying that now you ask the specific question of, given there is this API where I specifically, this is the spec, the API spec, can you spit out the test cases for me? It is happy to, it is the amount of the quality of the outcome increases, has increased massively comparatively. When I say comparatively to the generic chat GPT models, the quality of the outcome is way high, especially in terms of the relevancy and in terms of the consistency itself when you're using the MCP service. So with that, you need to enable that MCP protocol. On one side is MCP protocols have been developed for each and every specific areas within the testing. When I say specific areas about the testing, there are specific servers available to test the, let's say, for example, I have a database which where I need to integrate. There is a specific server available for that. I have a Jira where I'm doing all my test management, and I need to, let's say, for example, I need to summarize all the bugs. There is a specific Atlassian Jira server available where you can integrate, where you can leverage the MCP server and then start doing the test management, the defect prediction on the top of it. So with that, so there is a possibility of uh, uh, defining the context, or bringing that application context into the models, and then you need to identify which model fits as per the organization regulations, as per the organization requirements, and you build on the top of that model to ensure that the testing processes, the business processes are layered on the top. I hope I have answered the question. Yeah, I'm happy to.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Thanks. So there was one other question about what's your experience using in terms of different large language models in terms of from a tools perspective, such as LM evaluation harness or Langsmith or OpenAI evaluations. So trying to check if you've got any experience leveraging them or.
What we have uh, started our AI journey is especially using integrating the existing frameworks with the LLM models. When I say integrating the existing models with the LLM models, is we heavily use Playwright as one of our open source frameworks. We have built the frameworks on the top, customized frameworks based upon the client requirements. We have integrated the Playwright with the MCP server to ensure that we bring in the context of an in application, and even a manual tester should be able to use the MCP client to start writing the test cases in terms of a prompt, and that enables even the automation journey as well seamlessly as part of the MCP itself. So having said that, so we are still in the journey of evaluating a few other open source libraries. We have kind of like done the POCs using the small agents as well. One of the very when we talk about large language models, small agencies sits on the SLM side, which is the small language models. Which are very lightweight, which are very simple to use. So we have kind of like scraped the ground on both sides to see which one fits there. And but again, having said that, it's very specific to the requirement on what we are working on, which model can fit into, or which model can be leveraged in just a given context. So that's a kind of a very huge matrix or a complicated matrix to tick a lot of the boxes to ensure these are all the boxes need to be ticked off for this so and so requirement. So I think hopefully the we are on the other side of diverging and bringing them or baselining few of the models to see this particular kind of the requirements can be used using these combination of the agents and the LLM models together, and then so that we can meet the requirement itself. So that's where we are on.
Great. Thank you, Ravi. So there was one of the other question around the self accessibility AI agent. So is the current solution across multiple platforms that's like web, mobile, or all the other enterprise applications? And can this
Yes,
be integrated with the other CI/CD pipelines, etc.?
yes. So these are the agents which seamlessly gets integrated into the CI/CD pipelines itself. So there's the way what we have started our building these agents in house, and obviously we are working with our partners as well in this particular context of leveraging their existing capabilities, AI capabilities within their tools is one that's what we're talking about. Is there are two parts. One, you use the platform itself where it comes with all these capabilities all together. At the same time, you plug them out, or you want to use only the self-healing agent, we can integrate that into any existing frameworks. An organization which is using Playwright, it will get integrated into the Playwright. Any organization using Cypress or the Selenium or even other frameworks, it will get integrated into that and then works along with that framework as well. So obviously that gets integrated into the CI/CD pipelines where it seamlessly tries to deliver the required task for that.
Wonderful. Uh, Thank you. And there was one other question, if Adactin would be providing training on the AI testing.
That's a wonderful question. So yes, so we are kind of like coming out very soon. We are the groundwork is already happening on that space. We definitely want to uh, expand and open up that ground to the other learners as well. So this is where I was specifically emphasizing a little bit on the skill gap, where this is where we can use the QTech Ed, which is the Adactin training platform, where we are trying to open up the new courses, especially to embrace the AI technologies, especially in the testing space. Yes, to answer your question, that's on already on the cards. So groundwork is happening, and hopefully soon we should be able to come out with some information.
Great. So while I had few other questions, there was one personal question that I had. I think this is primarily from a testing user group where we're all quite passionate. I see that previously there were like 3 to 4 developers doing the development, and we used to have 1 or 2 testers testing it. But with the AI development, I see where there is only one developer who would probably require to develop it, but we probably require more than 3 testers to actually test and uh, from a different perspective. What do you think about this statement?
See, there are two aspects to it. So yeah, probably let me start with a very traditional way of what we're doing right now. Is like, yeah, definitely there is a ratio between the developers and the testers. Either it can be 1:2 or it can be 2:3, depending upon where the focus is. But the ultimate objective is to deliver or develop a quality product. Having said that, so quality is again is not one's responsibility, it's everyone's responsibility, and that's where the emphasis of the quality engineering sits into. So with that, when AI comes into the picture, the way I see it is, let's take one specific example of me myself when I started my journey in the testing space. Is like I was sitting down, or I get a requirement, I sit down, write all the scenarios together. Let's say as simple as writing the scenarios for a login page. Well, based upon the experience, I might write 10 scenarios, or I might write 20 scenarios, I might write 20, 30 scenarios. But with the when AI comes into the picture, look at the scalability of the test cases itself, right? We can actually use the power of these AI technologies to expand that coverage to the newer areas of the testing itself. It's not about writing the test cases or executing the test cases. It's about using the power or leveraging the power of the LLM models itself to go deep dive, to make the entire development delivery cycle itself optimized to go to the market at a faster pace, and then evolve the application on the top of it. So that's not the bigger picture where I see is the is how the AI can help, especially looking from an organization perspective. Yeah, definitely the way I see it, especially specifically talking to the testing space, is and from a tester perspective, is it is giving me the power to be more productive, to be more scalable, to be more explore the new areas of the application itself. So try to look at the bigger picture of how this particular change is coming. These are all the areas where it might impact, and this is how you can strategize the execution itself. This is how you can predict the defects way upfront, and this is what the action plan should be. So without these things, we were kind of like doing sequentially, I can say. But with this kind of the capabilities coming into the picture, I think we are a lot more powered as a testers to ensure the quality. We act as the quality gate itself. Either it can be from an application, it can be for a product, or it can be for an organization itself.
Yeah, I think you started everyone to think through, and there are a lot of interest around the AI testing, and there are a lot of questions, I'd say. And thanks for answering them patiently. Let me take on to the next one. This is about how do we ensure the trustworthiness and transparency of AI decisions in quality assessments while testing the AI?
Uh,
Can
I
I
don't
repeat
have
it?
any. No. I don't have a specific answer to it. So trustworthiness is very contextual, I can say. That's what I'm saying is like, see, they're all very niche. Like, to be uh, very honest and to be very candid here, when I started using these AI models, it writes the code for me, but does it really sits into my context? Does it really understands what I'm trying to achieve? Does it really gives me that the required output of whatever I'm trying to deliver? So it's not there yet, but definitely it will be there for sure. So the trustworthiness is when you see those quality outputs, whenever you see that relevancy part. That's what exactly I was talking about on a few metrics of consistency, relevancy, and the different types of the testing I was talking about is yeah, definitely it's not there yet. So, but they're being trained day in day out. They're being enabled those areas of learning itself. So that's where the self-learning mechanism is always embedded into the LLM models, where it learns day in day out and then ensures that it produces the mature output the next time. So the trustworthiness is depending upon how much we use it, how much we rely on it, and then how much we are empowering the LLM model to learn it based upon the multiple inputs we are giving. So it's a very closed loop, I can say.
Right. And the next one is mostly around the AI. How critical is to have a prompt engineering skill for testers to implement AI-led testing?
That's very, very critical, I can say. Is I can write a prompt in a very one sentence. I can write a prompt in using 100 words. I can write a prompt using 1,000 words as well. So this is where the new ways of working I was talking about is, especially everyone will start from the prompt itself. So learning about how to write the prompt, there are a lot of strategies, there are a lot of techniques available outside how you can write a prompt itself. So I was talking about there are different styles of prompt as well. So this is where in my experience when I was doing the testing, we have something called as a persona based testing. So I was talking about, especially we are testing an application from a different persona altogether. Oh, let me play as an assessor, okay, and I test the application as an assessor, and then let me play as a as a public user. I will try to test the application as a public user. This is where the prompts also change. So you need to give that the background or the context of, or you think like a end user, and this is what my application context is, this is what I'm trying to assess, this is what you need to think through, and this is what I'm trying to expect out of you. So the more the comprehensive the prompt, the better will be the outcome. So that where the importance of the prompt, that's where the comprehensiveness of the part of the prompt itself plays a very key role in getting that quality outcome.
Uh, there was another question about what could be the prerequisites. How can an organization get started on this journey around the AI testing, testing
Okay.
AI?
Kind of I let me play that slide. Actually, I didn't play that slide. Actually, we kind of like put a rubric actually to be in place. So we thought like we'll give it away in a different. Now the question is asked in this. So this is where basically we're trying to like this is in progress, and this is a kind of a continuously being changed. This is where we have started. Like if you see from the bottom to the top, where we started using these LLM models, the agents, and the agentic workflows as well to assist in the testing itself. So where we are trying to see how can we use leverage the LLM models in the manual testing. Can we use the agentic models like what we have seen for the case studies, especially in terms of self-healing, in terms of doing accessibility testing, in terms of generating or fabricating the data itself as part of the testing activity. This is where we are trying to take an assistance from the LLM models. Either it can be from a design perspective, or it can be from a data perspective, or it can be from an execution perspective, right? And from a defect perspective as well. So this is where we started off. If you see the bottom line, this is where we kind of started our journey from an assisted testing perspective. And now when you want to grow to the next level or mature yourself, or maturing the usage of the UI or leveraging the AI into the testing space, where we are augmenting the test cases. It's like, oh, given I have this user story, all I need to do is there is an LLM model working on behind the curtains. All I need to do is feed this user story, click on a magic button of generating the test cases. It will understand the epic level, it can understand the feature level, it can understand the epic level, it can understand the acceptance criteria, generate all your test cases for any given story, user story, or for a set of the acceptance criteria, and then it will seamlessly generate your automated scripts and everything. So that's where the test augmentation comes into the picture. And obviously, going to the next level of reimagining this entire testing process itself is the chatbot style testing, and or the autonomous requirements validations. To start with is like, oh, give me the database of all these user stories, or the entire product backlog itself. So it will start going through the list of all the product PVIs, understand the context, understand the requirements, understand all of the other details required to come out with the kind of the database or the knowledge base itself, especially from a testing perspective, and keep asking the questions about, oh, can you or let me know what is the coverage level looks like for any given user story. For example, if someone wants to assess the test coverage for any given user story, yes, it has the power to go and fetch the data for you and then should be able to give you those metrics. So thinking from an managerial perspective, or thinking from a thinking at the delivery managerial level perspective, is like uh, it's a combination of the user stories, it's a combination of the test the model has written, it's a combination of the execution and the outcomes, and it's a combination of where it is sitting today, especially from a testing perspective. And as a manager, this is, I am reimagining, okay? So it's not real, okay? So this is where I go and sit down and they say that, are we confident enough to deploy this application into the production on a given date? Okay, this is where it's gonna come, a day can come like this, and then we should be able to rely on the kind of these details which are coming from especially from these AI models, which will help us in decision making as well. So yes, obviously the future is there. The I can see the power coming up, and I can see the kind of the capabilities which are coming up. This will enable us. It's not like, the way I see it is more from a positive context, is they are enabling, the models are enabling us to be more faster, be more productive, be more futuristic, be more faster to the markets, and then make sure that we close that loop of feedback even to the other stakeholders as well. So this is where the the entire new ways of working is, the future ways of working, I can say, is in very, very near. And obviously going into the autonomous testing is the kind of, at this point of time, is a very, very matured stage, is where we're talking about the independent agents. It will just define the task of these agents. It will seamlessly work with the workflows, working along sidelines with the LLM models. It will seamlessly integrate into your, either it can be into a development process, it can be into a QA process, it can be into your management process as well. So one of the topics, probably I'll take a half a minute here, is on the combinatorial testing. I think many people might know about this combinatorial testing, where we're talking about, let's say I want to uh, test the rocket launch. I don't know. I need to simulate the rocket launch. I need to test. Imagine the number of the combinations. So from a mathematical standpoint, if you put an equation into these are the number of the user stories, these are the number of scenarios written, and it will extrapolate based upon the set of the attributes which are given. It will extrapolate and will give you the comprehensive set of all the scenarios which needs to be tested. So that's where the complexity lies. That's where the AI helps comes into picture, and then and that's the capability of these models to work at that scale actually. So we're talking about testing a very simple complex application, versus we are talking about an application where it has millions and millions of combinations. Yep. So that's the power of working of the LLM models, working in both directions. So
Great.
that's what the rubric talks about. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. We're exactly on top of the hour. Thank you all for the participation. I think if you have any further questions or any interest towards the AI testing from Adactin, please send us an email to sales@adactin.com or contact us at info@adactin.com, and we'll reach out to you shortly. Thank you again for your participation. Thank you, Ravi.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day, guys.